Today, I'm here to talk to you about how to use Assemble Systems to connect your pre-construction team and reduce risk on projects. Construction is the most collaborative business in the world, sometimes taking up to hundreds of companies to put a building up. Information is siloed, trapped in binders, spreadsheets, or email, which means information sharing is typically delayed. This potentially exposes team members or operating groups from different versions of that reality, right? And this primes your team for missing deadlines, decreasing productivity, and making more errors. Industries such as manufacturing, real estate, and pharma have continued to see an increase in productivity over the decades, sometimes even around 10 to 15% in a given year. Yet the construction industry's productivity rates remain stuck and in an average of about 1% year over year for the last 80 years. It's known that margins are razor thin, yet the construction industry is still one of the largest in the world's economy. It is about 12 trillion, and about 12 trillion will be spent on construction-related goods and services by the end of this year. It accounts for roughly 15% of the world's GDP and employs about 7% of the world's working age population. So it's no surprise that given the industry suffers being the lowest in the digitization processes, it's a little crazy to see that construction is on par with Farmer Joe's or grocery stores businesses. In other words, given our impact in our world economy, there is no excuse to allow construction professionals to continue to suffer from the lack of technology. And with these internal and external issues, such as shortfalls in accountability, talent management, constantly reinventing the wheel, along with fragmented value chains, really complex portfolios, and competitive pressure, we recognize that the overall changes in the construction reside in limited budgets, tight schedules, labor shortages, and a lot more. As owners' expectations continue to increase, expectations of real-time updates on design statuses, cost impacts, scope options, schedule implications, and more become more prevalent. This is why investing in a digitized pre-construction solution can help you automate, analyze, integrate, and even predict project outcomes to improve productivity levels and reduce risk sooner. Let's take a look at pre-construction a little. Contractors are under pressure to deliver projects cheaper and faster. They often face compressed schedules and iterative design processes. Fierce competition, right? The want to be innovative, but not the first one to take that risk. And over the entire world, we're seeing labor shortages. GCs are trying to get more work done with fewer resources or no access to sufficient trade labor. Project team members are more geographically distributed, and so staying on the same page is increasingly a challenge. Having an integrated pre-construction strategy ensures teams win more work and promote successful execution during construction to minimize risk and project delays. First, we want to build healthy relationships. between design and pre-construction teams, focus on both driving accurate estimates and schedules, control project costs while achieving the owner's vision, increase transparency, provide a successful handoff from the pre-construction to the construction team, communicate more effectively with subcontractors regarding scope and sequence. And with Autodesk Construction Cloud, our focus is to deliver a strong, comprehensive set of solutions that meet everyday needs of your clients, your teams, and your projects. Our advanced technology equips builders with powerful and easy-to-use tools for every workflow in construction. The mix of power and simplicity is crucial. In order for solutions to get real adoption in the field or office, they must be intuitive. They need to actually make the job easier. And when both of these are true, teams start demanding them on every job. The Builders Network is a real-time crowdsourcing network powered by Building Connected that connects owners and builders to the right trade. And we'll talk more about that as you continue through some of your breakout sessions. But overall, the core of this is the predictive insights in Construction IQ found in BIM 360, which takes previously siloed project data, automatically looks at patterns and highlights those to people who can react in real time. And this leads to powerful insights that help you make better decisions on current and future projects. Decisions that reduce risk, decisions that help you deliver projects safely and efficiently. We've identified 3 critical stages of technology adoption in the industry. Successfully transforming the construction industry requires each firm to achieve these key milestones. First is digitization, reimagining the construction business for the digital age. This isn't just about moving paper, although that's an important first step. It's about enhancing the way information is shared, often in ways that weren't possible before, and leveraging connected devices in the office and field to expand access to project information and help everyone make faster and better decisions. Second is workflow integration. This is about integrating business processes and automating manual workflows, breaking down the data silos that currently exist across your financial systems, your bidding and project management systems, and your maintenance systems, so that you can connect all of the data and make decisions more effectively across the project lifecycle. And finally, now that you're digitizing and capturing more critical information more than ever with these integrated workflows, we want to give you the ability to take that data and automatically synthesize powerful insights from it. And this allows you to optimize so that you can seize on opportunities that ensure your successful delivery on projects, profitability, and really delivering projects safely and on time and in more predictable ways. To help guide contractors through these stages, we're looking at construction in more of a connected way than ever before, bringing together advanced technology, a network of builders, and the power of predictive analytics to bridge projects from the earliest phases of design through planning and building and long into the operations. We are bringing this all together as the Autodesk Construction Cloud. Now, our mission statement for pre-construction is to become the global pre-construction ecosystem that empowers customers to quickly, predictably, and confidently move from design to construction. We believe that construction is a tipping point of explosive growth supported by new processes and technology. Autodesk is deeply invested in the future of the construction industry, and we've made huge investments to bring together the most powerful portfolio of construction management solutions in the world, including industry-leading products like Assemble, Building Connected, BIM 360, and PlanGrid. Coupled with the Autodesk design and authoring tools, we offer you a portfolio that connects the entire system from start to finish, addressing the most critical challenges you face in the design, pre-construction, construction, and operations phases. We are also at the forefront of helping you to analyze data, manage risk effectively throughout all of the phases. With solutions like our machine learning capability, Construction IQ, and our tendering and management system, Building Connected, and other systems that you may be using, powerful subcontractor risk management tools, we're giving you the insights you need to analyze project performance and catch problems before they start. Now, let's take a look at Assemble and how it adds value to the way that you work. So in an estimating department, some of the challenges that Assemble really looks to solve are tight deadlines, limited resources, a lack of BIM expertise, working in silos, working with multiple design iterations, especially if those design iterations are being taken off, or the quantities are being extracted in 2D, and really trying to match our workflows and our project deliveries with owners' expectations, right? With those increasing. And how Assemble looks to address that in this department is we can drastically reduce that take-up time, right? That gives you the ability to spend more time on what matters. Pre-construction engages design teams for more data, increased teamwork between VDC and estimators, and the ability to start to share that information out with owners and further down into project teams. Now, taking a look at another department, the VDC department, some of the challenges there are VDC managers and team BIM managers need to share model data with estimating and project teams. In those teams, there may be lack of expertise. There's many different teams that may have lack of expertise. They're always dealing with coordinating models and design iterations, and then balancing that with our budget. And we're also running into issues around, how do I take a design model and actually make a constructible model, and do that in a way where I can bring in input from all of our stakeholders. Now, Assemble addresses these issues with extending that model to the key stakeholders, right? It's a cloud-based system, so everyone has access to that model data and information within that model data or other databases. It's not required to be a Revit or Navisworks expert or ArchiCAD or any other expert, right? Assemble was made as a tool to be easy to use out in the field. And we can start to increase that teamwork between those VDC and estimators through model iterations and all of these other things, because we can easily condition and add project data to that model, right? And then spread that out. So why Assemble? Assemble gives organizations instant access to BIM data for the pre-construction and construction workflows. And really, when we start to boil this down, Assemble enables construction professionals to condition, query, connect to existing workflows that you've already built out, perform design reviews, many other downstream possibilities with this tool, leveraging that BIM data. Now, one of the common things that we hear is that, well, what about if the model wasn't designed right? And really, conditioning is an essential step towards 5D BIM. It is the process of reorganizing the design model into construction scopes or views, and then adding or editing construction metadata to classify the model data. The result is a construction model that enables automation of quantity takeoff, estimation, bid management, and scheduling. Now, when we take a look at some of the areas that organizations are finding a lot of success, we really start to look at how do you as an organization handle changes. Assemble has a very easy way to quickly upload models and view changes immediately. And then from there, you know, our previous statement about conditioning models and how do you condition models? How do you quantify models? And then when that iterative pre-construction, right, we have multiple different versions of those models. How are we keeping up with the estimates of those versions? How are we sequencing projects? How are we accessing models from the field, from the trailer, from the office? How are we leveraging BIM 360, right? And can we use BIM 360 to enhance some of these workflows? And really where Assemble works and how it helps organizations is in the pre-construction space is winning in the interview, right? If we can bring this information together, we can go to that interview with a sense of absoluteness, right? We know that we have this ability to quickly understand and that our guaranteed maximum price is going to be a lot more efficient than if we were doing assumption-based estimating and all of our information was in multiple different databases and silos. So to mitigate challenges and risk, many contractors today are basing estimates on a combination of 2D and 3D takeoffs in the cloud. And really, when we start to understand why that's a problem, Assemble comes in and says and works as it ensures all the project teams are building from the correct information, ensuring version control. Easily collaborate on the 3D models and the supporting documents anywhere and anytime through the cloud platform. Avoid duplication and errors by transferring information from one project phase to the next. And understanding the full project scope and the complexities by referencing both the drawings and the models. And at its core, what that is we're creating an environment that's connecting that field through model data and object data within that model that allows everyone to collaborate within the space that they know. Because project managers and superintendents and field teams and estimating teams, they all work in different ways. And they use information derived from models and design in different ways. And so we can start to use Assemble to break information out and really supply it to any of those teams so that they can live and breathe in what they do. So let's just take a look at some of Assemble's top features. So the instant access to BIM and project data. So you have this ability to provide the entire team with access to models, quantities, and properties just using the web browser. Okay, this is real-time visualization and quantification of design changes. You have the ability to federate multiple different model types, whether that be from AutoCAD, Revit Civil 3D, or IFC and many other different formats and platforms. And that gives you the ability to really start to work and connect all of that data into one rich environment. Now, model-based quantities for takeoff and estimating. So first, we start off with this ability to easily group, sort, and filter your quantities. You can start to organize by bid packages for your estimating solution. You can also organize inventory by color. So you can start to use things like your work breakdown structures. You could use estimates. You could use schedules to organize your quantities in that inventory that you're extracting. We can then start to import things like estimating codes, whether that be NRM or master format, uniformat, many different coding structures, and then link those objects in the model with the appropriate estimating assemblies. And then we also have that ability to then verify subcontractor bids, right? We can quickly understand what is going on in those bids, how that's going to affect what happens as things change. And that leads me to the ability to automate change management. So with each new model version that comes into Assemble will graphically show what has been added, removed, if there was a quantity change. You can also use Assemble to track variance changes from numerical model properties or any other type of property. We can quickly identify cost implications of changes, and we can review quantity variances to validate subcontractor change orders. Now, if you are using BIM 360, we do have a direct integration. Some of that is around being able to link information with BIM 360 Docs. So BIM 360 Docs is used at Autodesk as a central data environment. And from there, we have all of our data that we can then, in Assemble, easily collaborate on 3D models and supporting documents anywhere, anytime. We can also use the BIM 360 permission settings and version control settings to start to populate information and team members into Assemble. And we can also start to attach documents from your BIM 360 project portfolio to different objects in Assemble. And some of the cases there are things like manuals or maintenance schedule information. And we can really start to drive that information to help our teams both in the on-site and in the field. Now, some of the issues that we find, especially in the pre-construction phases, are trying to track issues, right? Whether that be design issues, estimating issues, a lot of different issues in this space. In Assemble, we have the ability to create issues using the BIM 360 Docs integration. And with that, we can start to take snapshots both in 3D and 2D of those issues, right? Create markups. We can have live models for 2D snapshots, and really we can start to use the issues being collected to then provide insights further downstream using BIM 360's Construction IQ. Now, if we want to use Assemble for a 5D construction solution, we also have integrations into Sage and Excel. And this provides a dynamic connection between your existing Excel templates or other databases that you may want to bring information over from, okay, in spreadsheet format. And you can also use our integration called Takeoff Bridge to connect Assemble to Sage and review estimate details in Sage with persistent links to Assemble data. So really what this is saying is that we can take information from many different databases, either using Excel or existing solutions, connect that to objects, and then start to use those objects to track information in many, many different ways. And that really brings us, to schedule. So if you're using Oracle P6, we have a direct integration there, where we can start to connect the schedule data directly to the object data, and we can even connect that to point cloud data. We can then start to easily visualize the representation of that schedule information, whether it be flow, critical path, or work in place tracking. And we can even start to come up with different formulas like earned value tracking or earned schedule tracking, right? And we can use that for dynamic simulations. Maybe we just want to create 2-day or 3-week look aheads. Now, Assemble is also available on the mobile for iPads and iPhones. This gives everyone access to the conditioned BIM model in the cloud, and that the device is available both online and offline. This way, teams can leverage models for work in place tracking and scheduling, sequencing, and coordination discussions. And teams can select model objects and status from the field, right? And use that model out in the field to then push visually rich information in a report and automatically colorize that so that it's tied to the quantities. And from there, we can then take our integration with Power BI and start to report on this data. And if you're familiar with Power BI, it's a very powerful tool that in Assemble, we can start to build charts and graphs. We can create many different types of data sets, pull from multiple different sources, and we can start to use that to have conversations both internally, externally with project teams, with owners, and really start to track information down to the object level throughout any of our projects. And what this really, gives us is a lot more control, right? We can see information and dissect information without having to necessarily go into models and be limited by our knowledge of authoring tools. Now, some organizations are really starting to use reality capture. Assemble has the ability to actually bring in point clouds, and you can use those point clouds to overlay as-built data on your building information model and share that with the team. You can use it to create deviation reports for floor flatness heat maps. And you can even use it for clash detection as an as-built versus the design model. So let's take a quick look at Assemble. So just coming into the interface, on the left-hand side, I have our model tree. So if we had multiple different models, I could upload those all in Assemble and federate those models directly here, right? Or I can isolate those models. Here they're organized by category. And on the top right-hand side, we can see our versions. And one thing that Assemble allows us to do is we can quickly understand when versions were uploaded, what version that is. And this gives us the ability to quickly see if there are changes within models or any other type of information that we may want to identify. So if I turn on my architectural model, we can quickly take that model and press our show changes button. And now we can identify exactly what changed within that model from version to version. And we have our nice little key on our bottom left-hand side that tells us if it's added, removed, there's a type change, a quantity change, or a type and quantity change. This is also represented in the center of our screen by our inventory. And within this inventory, I can actually see how those quantities are varying from version A to version B. I can also start to add information into this if I wanted to pull additional information out. Let's say total cost or unit cost. And so we can start to adjust our columns here to understand the impact at a cost level of those changes. Now, if we close out of this and come just down here, we have the ability to sign into BIM 360 and quickly access all of our project files and project data to then start to assign to assemble in our objects. In the center, what we have is our inventory. So this inventory is being pulled, in this case, from Revit itself, and is automatically given to us. It is typically given as a grouped by category, but we can start to use any of the information within that model to group our data. So the first thing I want to do is I want to actually find some information here to use to group. So I can come through Assemble and use this in a few different ways. One way is I can select in the 3D model. It will find it in our inventory and identify that information, right? That element. I can also find information in our inventory and push that into the 3D model. The other way we can start to use this is that a lot of organizations are still moving from the 2D space into the 3D space. And so when we upload our Revit model, we actually can upload it with the sheets. And I can use these sheets to validate the information that I'm finding within that model by simply coming down and finding in our selected property where that is in our sheets. Now, if I come into our sheet, what you'll see here is we have our blue outline of our wall. And I can start to use these sheets as well in a dynamic way to find information in both the 3D model as well as the inventory. If I see any issues within this sheet, I can also start to use our markup tools to create markups and even provide issues of many different assortments right here on the 2D sheet. Or we can also create those issues here in the 3D model. And we can create issues, start to track those later on down in the BIM 360. Now, one of the pieces that we want to address is what is in that model. And that is one of the biggest features of Assemble, right? Being able to extract the information. So we have a couple different ways of doing that. We can extract that information directly out of the model through model properties. So Assemble is automatically pulling these model properties directly from the authoring tool that you've uploaded this from. And as you can see here, some of these model properties are going to be grayed out. That's because we do not want the teams to be able to affect the model geometry. But as you can see here, there are also other parameters that are open. This is because with Assemble, we have a bi-directional workflow with Revit. And if I wanted to write information back to a central Revit file, I could use Assemble to populate this information within the model and sync that back directly into our central model. On the top, we have Assemble properties. And Assemble properties are completely customizable properties that we can then use to connect to multiple different databases or start to import information to and from. And we can start to use this to populate labor costs. We can start to connect this with cost code structures, right? And start to apply information across our geometry and use this to start to standardize how that information is presented. We can start to export this data in a multitude of different ways, right? So once I have my quantities, I can export this to Excel or import Excel documents into Assemble to quickly populate that data. Now, don't take our word for it. Assemble is being used across the globe in many different organizations of all shapes, sizes, and trades, whether that be the Skanskas that you may hear of, or smaller organizations. Across those different levels and types of organizations, we typically see, in the case of Joris general contractors, a 35% reduction in the time it took them to take off, right? 50% reductions in estimating time, 50% improvement in project status reporting, and 40% reductions in overall takeoff time, right? So across many different organizations around trades, if you're doing self-perform, Assemble has an ability to be malleable to your organization and allow you to use data to really find benefits, right? And streamline your workflows. So just taking a look at a couple of quotes here. One from McCarthy is that Assemble gives them a way to integrate everybody on the same page with exactly what they were talking about in terms of the different types of quantities on the project and that the project team was dealing with, right? It allows everyone to see where the changes occurred in the building, understand the impact, and go through a process of questioning that data in a productive way. If we take a look at organizations like Turner Construction, the reason why Assemble became their biggest driver is for the 5D aspect. And it allows them to use that as a very low bar of entry. And you really don't have to learn an entirely new software or complex software, as you may in some of the other softwares that don't represent the common data environment, right? That aren't connected to your existing workflows. And Assemble allows for, in Joris construction, the ability to reduce takeoff time by up to 35%, for variance reports with reliable models and improved efficiency of their estimating process by about 15%, right? And that is happening in multiple different organizations all across the world as well. And I know that so I'm going to open it up to a little question and answer, if that's okay. And I see that we do have a question in the chat box around can Assemble can it use formula on the quantity, reduce the length of a wall by 100 millimeters. So just going back to my earlier statement, Assemble is not a authoring tool. It is a tool that we can use to condition that information, but we wouldn't necessarily use it to actually design or change the design that was given to us. Any other questions? How to integrate Excel into Assemble? Yes, so there are a few different ways. We have a direct integration with Excel that allows us to either upload current Excel workbooks, right? So there's a way of formatting data to create like an NRM coding structure or master format or ESI codes, many different ways. We can actually upload that information into Assemble through that import button that I showed during the presentation. And that would allow us to quickly populate a lot of data. The other way we can connect to Excel is we have a direct integration actually through Excel that allows us to either create or generate a report in Excel, or to connect existing Excel templates and pull things like quantities into those. And where that can be used is if you have an existing bill of quantities template, right? And you wanted to bring quantities in, you could actually create that connection in Assemble and automatically pull those quantities into that BOQ.